My first experience was as doing Z-cars, which I filmed all around there. We pretended it was some kind of northern town, but it wasn't. It was all filmed around that part of the world, Hammersmith and Ravenscourt Park, and the studio work was done in Crisp Road, and therefore it was a fully functioning studio. Very good studio it was. And the pub across the road was people hang out, because there was no cafes or anything like that. It was just a pub that people used to go to. And I remember that vividly. And I remember recording there vividly. I remember that, going out, managing to get out the back and watch the river at the back. And little did I know that within 2 or 3 years I'd actually be working there. The whole kind of Riverside movement, Riverside studio movement was Peter Gill, who was astonishing. Peter started these series of workshops, which was, by then, the Riverside Studios was abandoned, and it was this sort of ghost town. And we went along, and we started up in what was the dubbing theatre that they used to do all the post-syncing for their shows. Quite an extraordinary bunch of actors. People like Anthony Sher, people like Ian Charleston, Anna Massey, Penelope Wilton, Oliver Cotton, John Price, not Jonathan, the late John Price. He was a wonderful, wonderful actor. Jimmy Hazeldine, a actor called Paul Kember. There was Sue Porritt, Paul Moriarty. There was a whole group of us who came together, and it expanded and subtracted as the years went on. We were all working with Peter, and Peter did a lot of exercises, a lot of text exercises, a lot of just simple acting workshops, and a lot of talking. And then Peter started to do productions. Cherry Orchard, his production of Julius Caesar, his production of, and of course, his famous production of The Changeling, which I was involved in. All that kind of grew out of these workshops, and also he was staging things in a much more interesting way than had been staged. And it was quite an amazing space. People complained because we had to do a lot of running entrances, but the thing about running entrances, it created a tremendous dynamic, particularly in The Changeling. And it was really probably one of the most unusual spaces that was going in London. There was no space like it. And Peter mastered that space incredibly well. An amazing time. Training, I suppose I was retraining. I'd already trained, but I was retraining, and Peter was a great stickler for language, and was brilliant, and he really had this incredible ear, and he sort of taught us all how to listen and how to speak, and really about text, and that was his big bugbear, and he was quite pioneering in that way, and he was responsible for a lot of fine young actors really beginning to kind of understand their relationship to text in a way that hadn't been happening. It happened a bit at the court with Bill Gaskell and stuff like that. But the great thing about the Riverside, it was very neutral ground. It didn't belong to the English Stage Company. It wasn't part of the National Theatre. It wasn't part of the Royal Shakespeare. It was all these disparate elements that came there for that incredibly historic period of about six years, where it really blossomed. It's astonishing. It's the best atmosphere ever. It certainly had an amazing effect on me. The Changeling, which was a very young company, showed an incredible edge because there was a sort of raw energy about the whole thing, and I felt it was the first time I came into my own as an actor. When I learned at Peter's hand, really, and I was I'll always be eternally grateful to Peter for that. We, we, you see, we had this astonishing thing. We didn't have a huge staff there, and we did this production. And in fact, there was another production at the same time. Uh, Terry Hands had done a production of the Changeling, and we opened, and it just went stellar. I mean, it just went off the charts. And but there was nobody to get the people in the seats. So John and I said, "We'll do it." So we went into the box office, and we were in the box office. I think we were there for about a week while the reviews were coming in. You know, better and better reviews were coming in. It's kind of quite a sexy production. It kind of really took off in a big way. And it was just John and I, who knew nothing about how to work a box office. You know, I was on the phone and I would say, "What do we do about this? They want 4, 6, 4." And he said, "Okay, just with all these charts." And it was nuts. It was absolutely nuts. But it was nighttime shift before we went and got changed. I remember some actor saying, "What are you doing here? Aren't you supposed to be getting ready?" I said, "No, well, I've got to get this, then I'll go and get ready." But it was great. We created the studio upstairs, the cinema, which is now the cinema. We never touched the dubbing theatre, which was fine, but we knocked down, we cleared that whole top floor, and we literally had skips down below. We had stuff. We were all covered in masks. We were putting that stuff down, and we did, yeah, we literally did the building of it, you know. Well, certainly the knocking down. The building was done by people, but certainly if there was a wall, we would remove it. No, I didn't, it was sad, because I actually did follow Peter to the National Theatre. I went to do Danton at the National Theatre, and that was a great production. Danton's Death was absolutely the sort of work we were doing at Riverside. It would have been a Riverside production, except we were playing in the Olivier. I actually had a photo exhibition at the. I went on and did the Scots play at the beginning of the 80s, and I was in 1981. But I did keep going back, and then in the mid 80s, I sort of didn't. I lost sort of touch with it in a way. Yeah. You were back. I was back. I was back because of what were they doing in '89? Oh, Titus Andronicus, yes, of course. Well, that was great. It looked like the perfect home for it because of the style of the production. And it just, everything came back, you know, and all the other actors who didn't know about the Riverside felt this kind of, you know, there are a lot of ghosts here, you know, a lot of sort of healthy ghosts in the place. And they felt it, they were absolutely over the moon about it, you know, about playing. And of course, suddenly the scale of the production just raised. Felt that it would be, no, I just felt that it was a much better venue for what we did. And certainly it kind of, we got back to the running entrances and exits again, because the great thing about the Riverside was the audience. It was a truly different audience from the audience that you got, the tired old audiences you get in the sort of mainstream theatre. There was a vibrancy. People went there with a sort of sense of expectation, which was, I don't remember that feeling in other places. Due to William Burdett Coates, really. I had done this production, which was very ambitious of me, this production in the Lyceum in Edinburgh. And I wanted to take it to London, but again, I didn't want to go into the usual sort of Haymarket stuff. I wanted to go to where I knew the vibrancy would be. And of course, the Riverside was, you know, hands down, was the place to be. Kid, he used to come to the Riverside all the time. you know, the arrow, you know, and there he was working away and, you know, and having a great time, you know, doing Howard Barker, which is again a neglected playwright, but covering things and giving life to stuff that have been perhaps not had the life that they've deserved. And Alan was, it was great. It was great to see him do it. You know.
I remember seeing you.
What it means, Riverside means innovation, cutting edge, you know, thrusting theatre, unexpected, great deal of fun. You know, what theatre should be. There was nothing like it, and that atmosphere pervaded throughout. It's always been there. It had that edge to it, and I hope the new building can somehow you get somebody to do a spiritual thing on it and awaken all those ghosts. I'm excited. I mean, I haven't seen what it's going to look like, but I think it's on. You know, it's on the spot, which is what's great. Yeah, man. I always felt with the building there was always more potential to the building than we could ever afford. That was the problem. You know, we could never really open the site to the river. You know, that was always frustrating. You know, it was never quite right. Simply we didn't have the money to do it. Riverside holds tremendous memories for me, and I'm sure the new Riverside will do exactly the same. And it'll be the same kind of, it'll be a continuation of the remarkable work that was done there. It can't be anything but. I feel it in my bones.